So we got a new show on Netflix, which is called Curse, which is the retelling of the Arthurian legend. What do I think about this show? Do I recommend you all check it out? Well, we're going to talk about that and much more. Armed with the mysterious powers and a legendary sword, young rebel Nimue joins forces with charming mercenary Arthur on a mission to save her people. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot here today to talk about the new Netflix series Curse, which I'm very excited to let you all know what I thought about this show and if you should check it out. Before we dive into this review, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of that new content. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And last but not least, if and when you've seen Curse, let me know what you all thought about the show. Do you want to see more from this series, like a season 2? What were some of your favorite characters, your favorite moments, and talk about your criticisms too. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have some fun discussions down there. So what was I looking forward to in this show? First and foremost, it's an Arthur story. Big fan of that lore, that mythology. I've seen movies, I've seen shows. Some of them are really great, some of them not so much. So I was really excited to see what this show had to bring to the table. It's a retelling. It's told in a different perspective. We have Katherine Langford playing our lead character, Nimue, who has these abilities, who have these powers, who has this path that is given upon her to reach Excalibur and what she does with the sword and all that fun stuff. So I was really interested to see this retelling of the show. And also, I mentioned Katherine Langford. I'm a fan of her. She's an up-and-coming actress. We've seen her in 13 Reasons Why. You saw her briefly in Endgame, or at least the deleted scene of Endgame. She was supposed to be the teenage version of Morgan Stark, Tony Stark's daughter. And then you've seen her most recently in Knives Out. So I was interested to see her carry her own vessel, her own show, and see her be a badass. So those were kind of my hooking points to this show. So starting off with the positives, we've seen it in Hollywood a million times, right? We've seen sequels, prequels, reboots, all this different stuff. But when there's a retelling, okay, if you're going to retell the story, bring something new to the table. And that's something I will definitely applaud the show doing. Having Nimue, Katherine Langford's character, having these abilities, having this path that she's given on very early in the season, and seeing her become who she becomes by the end of this season without getting too much away in this half of the video, but definitely in the spoiler half. Seeing her journey was very good. We'll talk about her more in a little bit in regards to her performance and everything, but I like the position that the show puts you in this new point of view of this character who does come across characters that we're familiar with. Merlin the Magician, the Wizard, Arthur, the Green Knight, and some other characters that you've seen in other stories within this lore. So I like this retelling. Again, it's not a reboot, it's not a rehash. She's not giving you a thing that you've seen a million times in other stories within this Arthur universe, but it tells you a new perspective, which I really appreciate. A thing that I always applaud Netflix for doing, and it definitely counts in this show as a positive, regardless of the quality of the show, like the writing, the directing, the acting, the production that they do with their big budget shows, they never go short. They never go cheap on those shows. This show definitely gives me what I look for when I look for these fantasy shows, a la Lord of the Rings, a la Game of Thrones, things of that nature. The set designs, the costumes, the magic, the mythical aspects, the supernatural characters, the fae, which are the creatures of this show that have horns, that have tusks, that have wings. I thought that this show's production was really high quality. It felt cinematic at times, which I really applaud Netflix for doing. Again, not all the quality is great, but I always applaud them for at least giving their directors the budget to put the vision to the big screen. Now, this is, of course, based on Arthur's story, but it's also based on a comic book, a graphic comic book by Frank Miller. And Frank Miller, I haven't read this particular story, but he's a very visionary writer when it comes to the graphic novels. And I definitely can say that I haven't read this, but from what I have read from Frank Miller, this feels like a Frank Miller-esque type of universe created that the show did. Again, we're seeing the Frey universe. We're seeing the underground. We're seeing these kind of demonic characters. We're seeing Excalibur, or I should say in this show, the Devil's Tooth. We're seeing the Red Brothers. There's so many different aspects that the show does a great job of it kind of putting you into this fantasy world. And the show, again, has so many different sets, so many different locations, and I really applaud that aspect of the show. There were some performances that I can think of that really kind of stood out to me. more so the supporting characters and some of our leads as well. But in regards to those secondary supporting characters, I think of Pim, who is the sister of Nimue. I thought she was a very interesting character. We didn't get as much from her in regards to like a backstory and kind of getting characteristics of that character, but seeing the position that she was in, seeing how she ended up where she did, and coming back to where she wanted to go, it was a very interesting arc that we got from the character in regards to seeing that actress who I've seen in a couple things before, and I thought she did a really good job of embracing kind of the inconsistent tone, which we'll talk a little bit later, but I thought that she fit within this universe. I think of another secondary character, Squirrel, a little kid actor who I thought was really good, because some kid actors sometimes, especially in kind of worlds where they have to talk to CGI characters or have to be, serious at times or goofy at times. I thought the kid in this, I don't know how old he is. He looked no older than 7. I thought the kid was fantastic, a Squirrel. Some of our more important characters, Morgana, I think her name was, who is the sister of Arthur. I thought that character was fantastic, and also the actress who played her was great as well. Seeing her journey, she was probably, in my opinion, the most complex character, had a lot to do in this show regarding where she started in the beginning of the show and to where she ended. Is very fascinating journey, and again, I thought the actress was fantastic. I had mentioned that she's the sister of Arthur. Again, you familiar characters from the Arthur universe. He's in this show, and the actor that played him was fantastic. He was probably my favorite character. No disrespect to Katherine Langford as Nimue, our main character, who I'm going to get to here in a bit, but I thought Arthur, man, you see his humble beginnings, or maybe not so humble beginnings, in regards to where he comes from to where he ends in the end of the season, and it'll be really interesting to see if they get a season 2 where they take that character. But I thought that actor, man, did a really good job of being noble when he needed to be, being a hero, having some layers to him, right? He's a liar. He's a cheater. He does some things early on in the season that kind of puts him in that kind of bucket of like, should we trust him? Should we not trust him? So I like the Arthur take on this character in this story here on Netflix. And then I had mentioned Katherine Langford. She's in my mix of positives and a little bit of negatives, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But in regards to the positives, she is an actress to look an eye out for. Again, she's been in TV shows, 13 Reasons Why. She's been in big budget movies, again, whether it be In-Game, deleted scene, but nevertheless in that movie, and also most recently Knives Out. She has a bright future. I thought at her best, the show put her in a position where she's given these abilities, she's given this path, she's given this position that she's in to take this sword. Again, Excalibur is what I know it as, but in the show is the Devil's Tooth. She's given this powerful sword, and seeing her character being a particular character in the show where she's humble, she's nice, she's sweet, she has good intentions, but when she has the sword, it kind of consumes her, very similar to the Lord of the Rings aspect with the ring and how it consumes its holder. She has that elements with the show, so you're seeing her have this different complexity, seeing her going back and forth with having good decisions, having good intentions, but then being kind of more violent, being more kind of hateful at times. So I love when she was given those different elements, and I thought that she for the most part did a good job in it, but we'll talk about her a little bit later. But Katherine as our lead, Nimue, I thought she did a good job in her role. Again, I thought that the show at its best, fantasy, supernatural, looking at the different demographics of the show, the different universes, the different characters regarding kings and queens and fae and, all the different legends that we have within this lore. The Green Knight, I thought the show did a good job of embracing the fantasy elements. Transitions to my criticism, this show has a identity crisis. This to me was like Game of Thrones for children. The show is MA, it's a mature audience because there's blood, which I didn't like the blood elements at times. Like it was just gushing, like people would get punched in the face and there's like blood all over the place. I thought they went a little too heavy on the blood. It's a very violent show by all means, but very kiddish at times, very kind of PG level comedy and very PG level situations. Dialogue at times was very, I don't like to use the word cringe, but there are some cringy dialogue moments and some characters in this show. More particularly, the bad guys in this show were some of the cringiest characters I've seen this year. Starting off, I'm going to talk about them more in the spoilers, but all of our bad guys, everyone involved in the Red Brothers. Think of Father Cardin, I believe his name was. Peter Mullen is the actor that plays him, who is a great actor. He was on another Netflix show. There's a lot of Netflix alumni in this show, but he was Jacob in Ozark season 1 and 2, who I thought was menacing. He was a great actor in that show. There is a lot of miscasting on the show, and he's one of them. A great actor, no less. But Father Carlin, his accent, his mannerisms, his decisions, the way he delivers certain lines where he's supposed to be the big bad of the show. I thought he under-delivered on like 90% of the stuff he was given. Again, a great actor. I just thought he was miscast. I think of the monk, the weeping monk. That character, you learn more about him with literally one episode to go. They give him a backstory with one episode to left. I should say episode 9 and 10. You learn who he is and all. Even though I kind of saw it coming, I don't want to get into spoilers now. But that character, they tried to make him the badass villain. Like he can just take out an army himself. He can just wipe out Faye himself. He doesn't need any backup. The character was cool. The premise of the character, the execution, the performance, the visual design of the tears, I thought that was just way over the top. Again, comic book characters, some things just don't translate well to the small screen, in this case on Netflix. I wasn't a fan of that character. There's a handful of other characters, the kings, like King Ular, I believe his name was, who was supposed to play this kind of pompous, kind of like childish king, which he did a good job at, but I thought that the character was just poorly written. His mother situation. Again, this show throws a lot at you guys. Again, you're dealing with Faye. You're dealing with the Excalibur sword. You're dealing with kings and queens and politics of who wants to rule what land. You're dealing with people on the sea. You're dealing with Vikings. You're dealing with so much stuff. The show is convoluted with a lot of stuff. 10 episodes, an hour apiece, but it still felt very rushed. There were things that should have taken. There were certain storylines that could have probably been stretched out, and I know I'm not a fan of stretching things out, but there were storylines that could have been like laid out better in like 2 to 3 episodes, but they shoved everything in one episode. I don't know if the showrunners didn't believe they were going to get a season 2, because there were definitely storylines that should have expanded into a second season that they just threw right at you. Again, there's wars that happened that just took way too soon to happen. There were storylines that wrapped up within one episode that just should have been more developed. This show was very rushed. But going back to my characters that I just thought were miscast and just, to be frank, were badly acted, I think of Iris. I think her name was Sister Iris. I don't know the actress name. I can't think of her name right now, but there was a young lady that played this actress. Again, I'm not a fan of bashing characters or acting. I thought her performance was the weakest of the entire show. That character was meant to be annoying. You're not supposed to like Iris. Kudos to the show for doing that, because I did not like the character. But the point of the character to me fell so flat and just unbelievable. The stuff that they gave her, the stuff that she was capable of doing. I'll get into it in the spoilers, but I was not a fan of that character at all. All the villains in the show, again, were terrible, in my personal opinion. So, again, just kind of wrapping up my negatives. It's a lot thrown at you. I don't think they developed things well enough. It was rushed at times, and there are legit characters in the show that are like terribly miscasted, in my personal opinion. So, with all that being said, non-spoiler review, should you watch Curse? If you like Arthur, you like fantasy, you want to see a new type of story being told within this legendary character that we're all familiar with, give it a chance. I had my flaws with this show, but you might love what I didn't like. So give it a shot. It takes a while to pick up. It takes about 3 or 4 episodes to really pick up, but I think the show is at its best when it's focusing on the fantasy elements, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. So take that as you will. Check it out if you're a fan of those stuff I had mentioned, but you have been warned, as it's thundering outside. I don't know if you can hear that, but you have been warned. There are some moments where it took me about 5 days to finish the show. I got an early screener for it. I normally finish things pretty quickly, but this show was kind of hard to watch because of those negative things that I had mentioned. So take that as you will. Let's get into these spoilers, guys. Again, I had talked about those characters, Sister Iris, her burning the church, her having her moments where she's just literally she's in the background. No one's paying attention to Iris. And she's the one that ultimately kills, Katherine Langford's character, Nimue, who the show told you from the very beginning, full spoilers, obviously, like I said, that she was going to be killed. But that character being the reason why who was killed by it, I thought was just so... she's the lady of the Catherine's character Nimue was supposed to become the lady of the lake, who is a character in the mythology of this the story. But all that stuff is fine, and we'll see where they go with season 2. But that Iris character, man, from her killing the Fae people when she was in the area that they kind of sieged, that character missed me with that character. I thought that the acting was bad, the story was terrible, her lines were terrible, just the look of the character by the end when she had the mask on. I'm not a fan of the Iris. You might love her, and kudos to you, but I thought that character was terrible. I mentioned Jacob from Ozark, Father Cardin. His accent kept coming in and out. The show kind of addresses why he has an accent, but that wasn't well enough to me because I thought it was just inconsistent. I thought he was miscasted, like Iris. I thought he was a miscasted character. I talked about the Weeping Monk. The character, you knew he was a Fae from the beginning because it's just like there's no way he's murdering all these people. He visually has a look to him that's like conveys that he has some type of abilities. It's not just like a mask to show that he's the bad guy. But that was just very on the nose to me that was going to be a big reveal. But you find out about his backstory literally within 2 episodes left, where that he was captured and he knows how to hunt the Fae and all that stuff. Again, everybody that was bad, the Red Brothers, all the kings that were conniving and backstabbing, I thought all that stuff was the weakest part of the show, and I had mentioned it feeling rushed. The whole story between Morgana and her girlfriend being consumed by that evil entity, that story felt underdeveloped. Seeing everything that played out with Arthur and, I thought their relationship between Arthur and Katherine Lang's Nimue had its moments, but for the most part, their chemistry was not on point to me, in my personal opinion. 2 great actors when they were kind of individually separated. They had moments at times, but for the most part, I didn't believe in their relationship in regards to feeling that it was earned. Because again, there was so many parts in the show where it felt so rushed. Again, like I said, I felt like literally them coming together, liking each other, not liking each other. I want you to die. I don't want you to die. It was just kind of convoluted in my opinion. And again, I thought there were so many moments in the show where they could have stretched certain things out for 2 or 3 episodes, but they just threw it on you. The whole pirate ship, Pim being on the pirate ship and her relationship with that guy was so underdeveloped to me, in my personal opinion. There was just a lot of moments in the show where it's just like, I don't know if they didn't get the green light from Netflix saying, hey, we'll give you another season, because I just feel like they was like, okay, we got to throw this in, that in, this in. It just felt rushed, convoluted, confusing at times, and to be frank, boring. I was very bored by the show for the majority of the show. It took me, like I said, 5 days to watch this, which normally I'm quick to watching shows, but maybe I watched 2 episodes at once. I couldn't watch more than 2 episodes because, again, this show was very underwhelming at times and just wasn't my cup of tea at times, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm a big fantasy fan. I'm a big Arthur fan, but this show wasn't my type of show. It was a very CW version. It was a CW version of Game of Thrones, in my personal opinion. So again, some people might love it, and you might be one of those people, and this isn't a disrespect to you, but this was not my show at all. If there is a season 2, I hope that they give us better characters, better stories, and just really develop these stories a lot more, because this show was just very rushed and very convoluted at times. So that's my thoughts. Again, as you can hear it thundering, which, by the way, the thundering with Merlin and his performance I thought was kind of up and down. And I brought up the Green Knight earlier. I thought he was a solid character, and we'll see if he comes back if they get a season 2. But again, I'm sorry if you can hear the thunder outside. But that's my thoughts on Curse. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you all thought of the show when you finally get a chance to check it out. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you can check out my other reviews and watch along for Inception, celebrating its 10-year anniversary this Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Time will be that watch along. Again, hope you all are staying safe. Thank you for watching this review, and we'll see you soon.